Okay, I see that looks like it's live streaming, so we're good to go then?
Now we're good to go.
Okay, there's the recording. Perfect. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today to discuss the start of the city's audit. My name is Lisa Carroll. I'm the audit manager for Team Olympia. With me today from my office is Paul Griswold. He's the supervisor on the audit, and Bo Villarreal, who is your audit lead again this year. And Christy, if you don't mind coordinating some introductions for the city, that would be great.
Sure, maybe we should just go around our side and everyone could introduce themselves. I'm Christy Wolf, Financial Services Manager.
I'm Shannon Kelly Fong, the Assistant City Manager, here today on behalf of Scott Spence, the City Manager.
Troy Wu, Finance Director.
Hello, Chelsea Arwood, Accounting Manager.
Great. Well, I see the City of Olympia icon, but I'm guessing that's more for recording purposes. So I think we caught everyone there. So thank you again for being here. Our goal today will be to share some information related to the current audit. And then we also have some resources that we'll be sharing that may be of assistance to the city. We appreciate your participation in this meeting, so feel free to stop us at any point if you have any questions. We're happy to answer those as we go, and then we'll also have a chance at the end for any additional questions that you may have. And then before we jump into the PowerPoint that we'll be pulling up, did want to note that there was an agenda that hopefully made it over to you all. We won't speak directly from what's in that agenda. We'll have the PowerPoint that we'll pull up and share. But if there are any questions, we can reference that document or answer any other questions that you might have. So with that, do we have the correct permissions? Oh, we do. Perfect. All righty. Great. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay. And I think we're ready. There we go. So the Office of the Washington State Auditor is tasked with being the auditor of all public funds. So what that means is that we are responsible for auditing all state and local governments. Our office has approximately 400 professionals located around the state, and we conduct over 2,600 audits every year. And on this slide, you'll see a number of the various audit types that we conduct, and we've highlighted the two that we'll be conducting during this current audit for the city. So the first is a financial audit where we issue an opinion on whether the financial statements are free from material error and are fairly stated. And the second is the federal grant or a single audit, as it's often called, which is required when the city expends over $750,000 in federal expenditures in a fiscal year. And for that audit, our objective is to review the funding received, select individual grants for audit, and determine whether the city complied with the requirements for receiving that federal funding. And next up, so before we get into some of the specifics for your audit, we did want to take a brief moment to touch on the important roles that the governing body, management, and the auditor's office plays. It's important to note that each of these roles has distinct responsibilities for the city, some of which we've summarized for you here on the slide. So first, governance starts at the top and involves ensuring ongoing oversight is applied to the city as a whole. Often this can be thought of as setting the direction of the city and monitoring to ensure the organization stays on course. Next is management, which also plays a key role in being responsible for carrying out the directions of the governing body and monitoring day-to-day operations. This also includes establishing internal controls. And management works closely with the governing body to report on the results of operations and provide reliable information in order to make informed decisions. And finally, the auditor's office is there to conduct an independent examination on whether the city is in compliance with the various financial, federal, and state requirements, as well as its own policies and procedures. And our audits also consider whether public funds are appropriately safeguarded. And we also like to note that audits do not provide absolute assurance, as we use a risk-based approach to determine what we are going to look at during the course of an audit. And the end result is a report to the city on the effectiveness of the activities examined and whether there are any areas that need any additional oversight or correction. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bo to get into some of the specifics of your audit.
Sure. So for the financial statement audit, we're covering the period of January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. The goal of our financial statement audit is to provide opinions on whether the GAAP financial statements are prepared fairly and are materially correct. These are conducted in accordance with government auditing standards, which means we're also required to review the internal control processes around the preparation of the financial statements. And if we become aware of any of the issues with the city's process that could or did lead to any misstatements, we will alert Christy to the matter during the audit. And at our exit conference, we'll share our report detailing the opinion for the financial audit. Are there any questions on the financial audit portion? Oh yeah, sorry, there's one more slide, I guess, on financial reporting for you guys with this one. In relation to our financial statement audit, we plan to issue what is referred to as an annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR letter. The city participates in this optional certificate of annual financial reporting, participates in the award program, which is offered by the Government Finance Officers Association, also known as GFOA. And this program requires that the city produce additional financial statement schedules and information that are subjected to audit procedures. Upon the completion of our review of this additional information and the financial statement audit as a whole, we plan to present the city with the ACFR letter for inclusion in the final annual report and eventual award submission. Going into the federal grant audit, this is also covering the period of 2021, the fiscal year for 2021. And the goal of this audit is to issue an opinion in accordance with the government audit standards and with uniform guidance. To do this, for the grants that we select, we review the required grant compliance areas to ensure that the city is within compliance and had controls in place for ensuring this. If we identify material non-compliance or control deficiency that we determine is either a significant deficiency or a material weakness, we're required to report this as a finding by the federal granting agencies. And if any of those issues are identified, we'll bring these to Christie's attention as soon as we know. And at our exit conference, we'll share our report detailing the opinion for the federal grant audit. For the federal grant audit specifically for this year, we are auditing the Coronavirus Relief Fund. The city we needed at least 40% coverage for the city. And a lot of the different COVID grants, including the Coronavirus Relief Fund, are considered higher risk in general by the federal granting agency. For those reasons, we selected that grant, which gave us 48% coverage. That was enough coverage for our entire federal grant audit. Are there any questions on what we're auditing for that portion? All right, so for this next slide, it's going over all the different ways that we're staying connected throughout the audit. So it's starting at the top and then going around clockwise. Before the audit started, we had a pre-audit meeting where we met with the city to discuss audit preferences and also to make a good amount of preliminary requests to just help with the flow of document requests. Next on there is the engagement letter. Earlier today, we provided the engagement letter that confirms both management and the auditor responsibilities, as well as other engagement terms and limitations. Additionally, the letter identifies the cost of the audit, estimated timeline, and timeline for completion and expected communications. Risk assessments. During the planning stage of the audit, we completed multiple risk assessments to gain information to help us in the selection of financial statement balances and grants selected for audit. Next one is the weekly status meetings. And actually, instead of weekly status meetings, we're having more of 2 status meetings per week, just to keep in constant communication throughout the audit, make sure that the city's tracking on any outstanding items we have, if we have any additional questions or anything to add in, or if we were to identify any issues throughout the audit process, we'd be discussing them in these meetings that were happening every Tuesday and Thursday. And next on the list is management representation letter. As we near the completion of the audit, we will also request a signed management representation letter that confirms representations made by us or made to us by the city. And the last item on this is the exit conference. So at the conclusion of the audit, we'll hold an exit conference, which will be similar to this meeting, but we'll be going over the results of the audit instead. Are there any questions about any of these items? All All right. I know most of you are pretty familiar with the levels of reporting, but just to give kind of a quick summary of each of the levels of reporting, we issue potentially up to 3 different types of levels of reporting. There's findings, which is our most significant level of reporting. These are typically reserved for any significant control deficiencies or material weaknesses, anything that we consider to be a bit more major. And if we identify a finding, it's included in the report. We'll go over this at the exit conference, and the city will also draft a finding response if there were any, and both the finding and the response would be included in the report. For management letters, they're more of our middle of the road level of reporting. If there were any issues that didn't quite make the finding level, but were something that we wanted to make sure that management focused on correcting, we'd draft up a letter for that, and we would go over that letter at the exit conference. In the report, it wouldn't specifically include that letter. It would just instead include a reference to, let's say, we included a letter to management related to payroll, or some minor sentence like that in the report. The exit items are most minor level of reporting, and we have exit items, also called exit recommendations sometimes, in every single audit that we do. These are just the minor little control or errors that we note and everything throughout the audit. And we give management a list of these errors. We don't typically discuss them at the exit unless the city would like to, since they are minor in nature, but there are those in every single audit. Are there any questions on any of these? All right, I'll pass it off to Paul to go over the next few slides.
Hey, Bo. So we do like to share a few reminders with you today about our audit. And so the first one is confidential information. And so our office remains committed to protecting and the safe handling of your confidential data. And so during the audit, we may need to review confidential or sensitive information, such as like payroll data. And we have a number of ways to assist in the safe handling of this information. Second, audit costs. We've shared the estimate of the audit costs in your packet, as well as it's outlined in that engagement letter that Bo just mentioned. Third, we also have the audit dispute process. And so should there be any concerns during the audit process, we've established ways for you to voice those concerns. We always encourage you to start with your local audit manager, Lisa, but please know that contacts for additional representatives have been included in that packet all the way up to the state auditor, should that be needed. And lastly, we always like to remind governments about loss reporting requirements. And so should you become aware of any known or suspected losses of public funds, state law does require that you file a notification with our office. So one question we often receive is who audits? The state auditor. And as required by our government auditing standards, we do receive an external peer review once every 3 years, which is conducted by the National State Auditors Association. And our most recent audit results, we received the highest level of assurance possible, which was a pass. And so you can view the results of the peer review can be found on our website. Something that we've been mentioning more and more, especially during entrance and exit conferences, as well as during our just kind of normal conversations with clients, is cybersecurity concerns. And so we, local entities, have seen an increased number of cybersecurity issues, including security breaches related to data or cyber fraud, wire fraud. And so we wanted to highlight some important information regarding cybersecurity issues, as well as some reporting requirements, mainly to bring those to your attention. And so state and local governments may be required to report cybersecurity issues, including security breaches and cyber fraud. Reporting is required by the Attorney General's office if a single security incident affects more than 500 Washington residents. Reporting to our office may also be necessary if the event involves financial records or finances. The requirement to report to us is not dictated by the number of affected parties or whether you experience a financial loss. And local government employees should always alert us to any suspected fraud, and notifications can be made on our website, which has been included in that packet. We also have a variety of resources related to cybersecurity issues on our website that I'm going to go into a little bit more detail as well. So want to bring up some resources for local governments. And so we have two teams that are available to assist local governments. The first one is the local government support team. And so beyond your regularly scheduled audit, we do have these additional services that are available at no additional costs year round. And so local government support team, they are available to assist with annual financial reporting, accounting services, can answer your questions. You can submit them through your client portal on our website. They can provide technical assistance, and they also have a wealth of information and resources available. They also strive to ensure that you're prepared for your annual report filing requirements, and they also do several trainings, kind of the BARS roundup that they used to travel around the state. They also offer those now via webinars as well. And then the other resource is the Center for Government Innovation. This is another great resource for local governments. They provide lean process improvements and change management facilitations, along with team building exercises, leadership workshops to help governments become more effective and efficient. And so they also manage the financial intelligence tool, which also known as the FIT tool or FIT, which can help you monitor your financial health and compare it to other local governments, which is available on our website. Like I previously mentioned, there are a lot of resources available on our website. The Center for Government Innovation puts out a lot of resources, and we just wanted to bring up a couple. And so these can be found on our resource database page on our website, but they contain a bunch of best practice guidance, such as like payroll guides, segregation of duty guides. They also have cash receipting, accounts payable guides. I mean, it's just a wealth of information and resources and guidance that has been put out by the Center for Government Information. In addition, because cybersecurity continues to be an increasing issue, there is a lot of resources related to cybersecurity available, such as managing your systems and your data, and also just additional cybersecurity related resources. And so if you haven't already, we do encourage you to go to our website, check out those resources, and utilize them and ask any questions. The Center for Government Information's email has been included in your packet as well on this slide. And with that, that concludes the information that we wanted to share with you for the entrance conference and our presentation. So we will open it up for questions or any other topics that you would like to discuss.
Just real quick, I'd like to acknowledge Deputy Mayor Miller had joined the meeting a little bit late, but he's a great representative. He's on our finance committee as well. Hi, Deputy Mayor. Also, we can send the attendee list to you after the meeting.
Perfect, thank you, I appreciate it.
That.
Great. Well, if there are no other questions, we will let you get back to your day, but thank you all so much for taking the time to meet with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.